Namaskar. I'm Kumar Rakesh and you're watching Global Governance News TV. Today we're going to discuss the Russia-Ukraine war, UNGA, UNSC and Bharat, or the role of Bharat. Just we'll also discuss and we'll discuss and how the UNGA meeting is on and some statements has been issued by the Secretary General of United Nations. Just war should be stopped and talks should be on, and both parties should understand the sensitivity of war. And on the other way, Putin's reaction is different one, and UNSC how India abstain, Bharat abstain. We know the how the resolution was there, uh, uh, and I'm just trying to read out that. On the Sunday, I was stand from the procedural vote taken in the United Nations Security Council to call for a rare special emergency session of United Nations General Assembly. So as today started, and Russia aggression against Ukraine. This happened even on now. New Delhi welcomed Moscow and key decision to hold talks at Belarus border, according to media reports. Today, talks are on. They're on the talks table. Hope for the best. Hope for the peace. Hope for the non-violence from our side. And how just reiterate the for call for immediate cessation of violence and end to the hostilities. Our Prime Minister has advocated it strongly in his recent conversation with the leadership of Russian Federation and Ukraine. And according to agency ANI, T.S. Tirimurti, India's permanent representative to the UN, is saying the UNSC meeting on Ukraine. We welcome today the announcement by the both sides to hold talks at the Belarus border. We continue with deeply concerned safety and security, and the Bharatiya national, including a large number of Bharatiya students, are still studying in Ukraine. According to India's ambassador to UN further said. Resolution just yesterday, how the 11 votes in favor and paved the way for the General Assembly to meet crisis as soon and reports says according to the United Nations, the whatever just uniting for the peace, they are called for the peace. Actually, all are just favor of peace. Nobody is against peace, and we are just here five permanent council member: China, France, Russia, United Kingdom, and United States. Uh, Today, this is the latest development. The France Premier, Mr. Macron, talked with the Mr. Putin, the Russian Premier. According to reports, the talks has just ended about 1.5 hours. So this is a big development on this front of Ukraine, and yeah, this type of the if you think the respect of the United Nations, whatever emergency special session of the General Assembly, only 10 since convention 1950, following the adoption of the resolution 377A, we widely known as Uniting for the Peace. This type of special session, only 10 but it has been held since 1950. So rare UNJ is going to just already on. And one statement for the made reports of casualty and people fleeing home to seek safety as Russian military operations in country intensified. The Secretary General announced that UN will launch an appeal to fund the humanitarian
And
operations
some
in Ukraine.
statement intensified. The Secretary General announced that UN will launch.
So just we're going to discuss the how the Russian-Ukraine war is going on. Today is no any bomb blast from the both sides because talks are on. And how the UNSC, the Bharat and China reacted, and how I think how it will go on. So we have the esteemed panelist Vandanaji Jhingan from senior journalist from the Chicago, USA, and Dr. Ram Bhatt from Germany, Hamburg, and just uh, a scholar on the Bharat and European affairs as well as the world affairs keep on eye. So I start from the Vandanaji. How just you think the issue? Just you are not favor in the media reports and how the media is discussing this subject. So how just you uh, analyze the situation and that's the role of UNGA in this such type of cases and issues.
Namaskar, Rampatji and Kumar Rakeshji, and to our co-panel, to our viewers, and very important subject that you have brought it, because from the last, I think now it's almost going to be a week, we are not seeing anything other than this conversation. But there is so much else going on in the world which has not been discussed and talked about it. Let's start, which is my main concern, because there has to be checks and balances. It is not only that you just within in a competitive mode what Kumar Rakesh is doing, so Ram Bhatt has to do the same thing. What Ram Bhatt is doing, Alok Lad has to do the same thing. Because how would we bring the new perspective? There are so many other things. Means when we are talking, India itself is a very vibrant and the largest democracy of the world.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
5 states are going for the poll. Means from last 1 week, I'm trying to find the news of the poll where it is. Means, but like even if I see with the microscope, I'm not able to see any news anywhere. I mean, they always say first you safeguard your home. And even if we don't learn this lesson from what is happening in this Ukraine right now, so this will be the biggest irony for us, because I'm just going to be very vocal about it when this, why this has happened. In today's time, whatever the media images, pictures, videos that we are seeing, it can make anybody means to think very emotionally but not rationally. And you and me can discuss and analyze situations, but it will not be practically possible for a common man. Those who are watching this, they will just be thinking and will be making their narratives on one side of it. And which is very sad to say that. And you are just making somebody, when you're talking about the opinion rating of the president Zelensky, of Ukraine, overnight, where he was, where he is today, and you make somebody a villain to safeguard my home. Rambhaji, if I come and try to attack your home, first you will try to, even if I'm just making my base in your neighborhood, so you know that I'm a threat, would you not safeguard yourself? Definitely. They always say charity begins at home. पहले अपने घर की सुरक्षा करें, फिर दूसरे की करें. So this is basically a NATO. The fight can be over because there was a talk which was demanded by the Russia, but which was, I mean, Ukraine was not getting ready for it for a very long time. And this is not an overnight situation. This has been cropping up because we remember that when Russia wanted to have a base in Cuba. So Cuba is still facing the sanctions of United States of America. It's the same thing. Why do we need Ukraine to have a NATO thing? And Russia was opposing that. And we are seeing the result. They won. But I am just sorry to say that Ukraine thought that these people NATO forces were going to come and help. They are giving arms, but they are not coming on the ground to fight. So is it like due to the pandemic, COVID, they are fighting virtually, to be honest, and making fool of, because now it is a time, if there is a talk coming, because see, it's a loss of human lives. It's a loss. It's means what is a collateral damage when we see all these kind of things? Innocent lives do, because this is becoming an urban war now. Have you ever thought the tanks coming in the streets? Because so what are you trying to show? You images is somebody standing there capturing that? So you have to analyze that. So I'm seeing it from the various different perspectives. Anywhere in the world you are seeing it, there are protests against Russia but in support of Ukraine. Ukraine itself is not, when we're talking about the democracy part of it, it's not a very democratic country, to be honest.
Okay.
Then, means
Okay.
and I have, there were 3 TV channels, those who used to discuss about this president, and those TV channels have been closed by this president. And the number 2 who came as an opponent to him, they've been put in jail. So how can we talk about that Ukraine is a democracy? Because the image that the Western media is trying to portray, and our Indian media is also jumping and thumping, I'm covering from here and all, this is not right.
Vandana, I'm just going to support your statement how the media support in Ukraine, and just after that I'll take the whole reaction and analytical views from the Dr. Ram Bhatt. 2005, I was in Ukraine with the delegation of our President of Bharat, Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. And that time, both parties sit together with officials of our Bharat and the Ukraine side, and you'll just surprised to know they program in the Rashtrapati Bhavan and the President House of Ukraine, UNESCO, and the name just I'm trying to remember that time. So they say we invite media 4 hours before the main time, starting the program time, either the press conference and either anything. Can you believe it? This is democracy. And then we just protested on the point of protest. Sorry, maximum way we can manage for the 1 hour, but not 4 hours at any cost. Then they are sitting a negotiating table with our officials. We are representing our delegation part of the media. So, and then we talk to the concerned officer. Sorry, if you will not go, you are boycotting whatever you understand, but will not go. We are covering our president. We'll cover. Don't worry. But you have to. This is so, Ravis. We can't just accept your proposal like that. Sorry, 4 hours waiting. 4 hours waiting. It is joke.
No. So is it democracy?
Is it democracy? Ultimately, anyhow, they managed that they came in 1 hour, and you also second point. Whatever they invite the media to cover, no water, no shelter, anything. They are just standing on the sun, open sun. What nonsense. And after the our say, they made the arrangement. Sorry, our media is different. We are the Democrats, real Democrat, not like you, and will not accept you. Then after that, next day, the all proper arrangement according to our wish and our request, they managed, and then program was successful. So that's I just try to input this my personal own experience.
Contrary to it, what you said, you have faced this on the ground. But now the media houses of Bharat, they were not even born at that very time, so they don't even know. And
one more thing, Mandanaji. What I see in Kiev is more beautiful than the Switzerland. Whatever I feel it, so beautiful. So that is different issue. Dr. Rambhat, how just you see the whole equations of Bharat in between the war of the Russia and Ukraine with the role of UNGA UNSC?
Namaskar. Greetings to everyone. Yeah, interesting question. It's not a very easy times, this I can tell you, sitting in Germany here. As far as, we want to, or one want to understand the problem, I think one has to go into the history of this conflict. You see, when the USSR is kind of disintegrated, then there was a kind of meetings or some agreements between the world powers that time, and the agreement was upon which was verbal. Unfortunately, had it been written, that would have been much better today. That the Western powers shall not expand towards or intend to go towards their borders, towards the eastern border, that means to Russian borders immediately. I understand it was meant to keep as a buffer zone between Russia and the Western European Unions. And this is the problem where it starts. It went on, and then there were meetings. So after meetings, we know 99, 2001, 2003. I think it was in Munich even, and it was then in 2010, and so on and so forth. And many times, if I have really, correctly understood my colleagues who are the expert on these things, and I was told that Russia, of course, is showing the aggression at the moment, or since some years, of course, but it has some reasons also behind that. That means they have not been respected, or they are not being respected in some or the other ways. So the story is not that simple and that easy, because it's really a conflict that can really, cause a huge problem to the humanity throughout the world. I mean, now we cannot argue that America is so far, or India is so far, or China is so far. It is not that question anymore, because the world geography or the geopolitics has changed very much, especially through the technology, information technology. That's one thing. When we come to the United Nations, I think United Nations, I mean, it is. I don't think if somebody can take it seriously, because you see what has happened to, or what kind of decisions United Nations made in past. Look at what happened to the Iraq war. Why was Libya attacked? What happened to Libya? What happened to other parts of the world? We don't have any proper, conclusion for that. Even in Syria, you see, what we have seen is only problem, and not only problem of one kind, but various ethnic problems. Individuals are losing families, and I mean suffering of the people, and I mean children, women, men, all are suffering. Solution are not being provided. So the in best interest of all parties would have been probably to talk earlier, much earlier, to initiate the talks and concrete talks. That is what went wrong, because there were talks, but they were not that serious talks. And then of course one party say, okay, well, you can, it is the right of the people, they can do that. But again, I mean, the right of the people is good, but then historically, or historical evidences needs also be taken in consideration, and that is not being done. I don't want to comment on very much on the country that is under fire currently or is in war, but two things I can attest and say. They, the best interest in Ukraine would have been to remain neutral. That means they could have really played a role of, connector, or connecting the Russians with the European Unions, and they could have gained a lot from that, actually, But unfortunately, that as we know, that the modernity, one thing, and it's not modernity. It's only about the finance. It's only about the well-being, the money. That is the reason, because everybody wants to kind of go to either to Berlin, to Paris, somewhere else, because people have this idea that as soon as they come to these countries, they will fulfill their dreams, which is not true, again, because they may be financed for some years, but then they have to again fight, or go to pillar to fight pillar to post, or post to pillar. So they have to work hard as well. And here what happened, one side attracted these Ukrainians, poor guys, in one way, that okay, we will help you, and they did. But the other side said, don't go that far, we will teach you a lesson. And exactly this is what happened, because the West gave the assurance, asked them that you will join European Union, you will join NATO, and this and that.
Today, Mr. Zelensky also requested the European Union to just to please.
Yeah, I'm coming to that. Sorry, I will
please.
take another 1 minute or so too. So, what about the common people there? Ukraine is not at peace since past many years, and it is not the outsiders that they are coming there. It is the Ukrainian people. Those, I mean, there are these Russian ethnic people. They are having problems. They were having conflicts with the governments of Ukraine, and the Ukrainians were having problems with them. So we have seen the problem with the Crimea. Then you say Donetsk, and then you have these other regions. So, and the Minsk agreement that was actually supposed to be implemented was never implemented because Russian wanted these people to be given their rights
No,
and the
Ramji,
training.
my question was concerned with UNSC and UNGA, how just they behave, the China and Bharat, and why?
Well, I think this is not very clear to me, to be very honest, because
Okay.
you see what
So,
the
so I'll take
consideration
answer
here.
to Alokji. I'll take answer to
Yeah,
Alokji. Time a
yeah.
break, and then I'll take the question to
All right.
Alokji and
Yeah,
answer.
yeah.
So this is the break, and after break we'll just continue discussion. Welcome after break. Just discussing the Russian Ukraine war. The UNSC, the UNJ meeting is going on, and the role of Bharat. So, welcome to Alok Laharji from Spain, senior journalist and analyst. Please, uh, Alokji, just try to ask the question with the Dr. Rambhat. Why just Bharat and China have a stand from the UNSC? Just, I think this for support Russia. This is support Russia. Do you think this is an anti-Ukraine, or yeah, the different story and different political story just creating from that end? Unmute yourself.
Good evening, Kumara KG and fellow panelists, also our viewers. I mean, you're asking me a question which is kind of strange, and I think Mr. Bhatt has already built on it. You're asking me if the war is between the Kauravas and the Pandavas, are we in favor of Kurukshetra or we are not in favor of Kurukshetra? It is as simple as that. This is not a war between Russia and Ukraine. It is being presented as if it was a war between Russia and Ukraine. Ukraine is the battleground. The war is between Russia and United States of America. I have it very clear. Who's the winner? From my point of view, America is the winner because they have started trouble in the backyard of Ukraine without firing a bullet. Two countries which had brotherly relationship. There are people, when the father is from Russia and mother is from Ukraine, or a father is from Ukraine and mother is from Russia. Now there is a fight, there is a siege within, and this will take years to, fill up, if it ever gets filled up. There's the breach of faith which they have. So earlier to this, the president, he was being called a Russian puppet, and then he was thrown away using the right-wing extreme right-wing groups in Ukraine. He was thrown away, and now we have a person who, he's never been called an American puppet. It's always said he's been democratically elected, and suddenly one person goes away and the whole ethos of the country changes. So before that person was there, Ukraine was as undemocratic as Russia is painted out to be today. And suddenly this person, he goes in and takes a political refuge in Russia. And the new president who comes in, he's as democratic as probably India or UK or United States of America. So this is mockery of people. I mean, what media is doing, over the Western media is doing, it's trying to show a picture, which is not. So this is also media war. We've done a program on that. And what's more interesting is, like you've asked me, is India and China, are they favoring Ukraine or are they favoring Russia? Let's have our things clear. This war is between Russia and America. India has good relationship with both of them. We are dependent, 70% of our armament, which we need to protect our country against all these, fundamentalist countries or communist countries, which we have on one side or the other. So we need that armament. Transfer of technology has been done. We have historically had this relationship with Russia. We cannot leave it. And similarly, like with the new change, ever since we don't have a bipolar world, we have, unipolar world. Our defense requirement are being made from United States of America and the Western world. We bought, now airplanes from France, which is part of the NATO network also, which according to me it should be irrelevant. I mean, when Warsaw Pact is not there, why should NATO be there? So it has become irrelevant, but they're still doing it. And not only this, when NATO started off, there were only 12 countries. Now there are 30 countries. So they're actually, like crawling into the so-called Russian space in a way. So when President Putin says that, what if, we had warheads in Mexico, or let's say in Canada. I mean, forget that. When they had warheads in Cuba, what was the behavior of United States of America? So I think, Russians are they're not very smart people in that sense. They're more like village people, they'll say something and do it. Americans are more sophisticated in that way. They'll say something, do something else, behave in certain other manner, and then they will achieve their goals. So they are more, astute. That's the word for them. And United Nations, what is happening? India is not voting in favor of Ukraine or against Ukraine. Poor Ukrainians. I mean, I really pity that country. It's bad luck that it's next to Russia and it's the battleground of the two superpowers. That's their bad luck. Ukrainians are very nice people, and it's just political power. I'm not saying that the Russians are not, or the Americans are not. People of all the world are very nice people, but we are like sheep, and we are carried away by these people. And what is United Nations doing? Nothing. And what will the General Assembly do? It will do nothing again. They are again, in the Roman times, we used to have circus. So it is United Nations or Security Council has become a circus where you come and you spend your time, and it is
Yes.
that, semicircular or circular kind of thing, and nothing comes out of that. You tell me, when has United Nations or the Security Council ever been relevant? When bombing was done in Syria, was it relevant?
That is
Just like
a different.
when Libya was bombarded, was it relevant? Yeah,
Either UN effective
it has
or
become
not.
irrelevant. I think it should be dismantled.
Okay, actually, on this point, last September 2021, our Prime Minister Narendra Modi also just spoke on the United Nations, just about the relevancy of the United Nations. If they are not fulfilling the wishes and dreams and the projects of concerned countries, why they are stand for? So Vandana ji, just I'm coming to Ramji after take Vandana ji. Vandana ji, Alok ji just shared his view, and he is saying this is not a battle and war between the Russia and Ukraine. This is a war between the Russia and USA, America. What do you think?
गलत थोड़ी कुछ कहा है, बिल्कुल सही कहा है. That's what I'm saying. The people, those who are on the street in favor of Ukraine, they are not as analytic as you and me are, because what the media is showing them the images. So they are talking more from a compassional ground. They are talking more on an emotional ground. They are not talking about the rational grounds. One has to know what happened yesterday. One has to know what happened 2 years ago. Why this started? Because see, in today's time, which is very, very sad to say that, and I'm very vocal about it, Kumar Rakesh ji, start reading the book from page number 1 along with preface. Don't read as it is convenient to you from page number 51. To be honest, people talk about riots of Gujarat. Nobody talks about why the riots happened. That is in from page 1 to 50. They pick up page number 51. They are talking about आजादी नहीं है, अभिव्यक्ति की आजादी, कश्मीर में इंटरनेट खत्म हो गया, and this and that. Like, they are not talking about what happened from that time to this time. So who's going to do that? So this is what is happening. A common man just sees in the media the way the all around the globe they are trying to portray रातों रात उस बंदे को हीरो बना दिया. He was anyway a joker. We all know that. A comedian.
I think Vandana ji, in USA now, Republicans are so happy just to how the Biden has failed to resolve the issue.
See, means like when it comes to, I'm not even talking about the from the political, because statistics speaks for itself.
Yeah.
What happened in Obama's time? What happened in this Biden's time? Two nations in less than 6 months. Afghanistan का सफाया कराया, अभी यूक्रेन, आगे और क्या क्या आएगा? I mean, he is not running the nation. This is like somebody is like, it is we are very sorry to say that we are going. I'm going to share another video of Tulsi Gabbard. If you can play that, please do so, and you will get the facts out of it, because we need to. But how many of those kind of people are there, Alok Larji, those who are coming and speaking out? Because the platforms like Twitter, they could ban the running president's Twitter account because he's speaking out the facts. So that is the means irony. I don't know when the wisdom will prevail and we'll start seeing the truth. I just said that we have to read the book from page number 1, not from 51.
Okay, so nice of you. Just so Ram Bhattji, just last comment. Just you can just analyze the all. Just Alok ji saying and Vandana ji supported. This is not the war between Russia and Ukraine, but this is a war between Russia and US. Just NATO and the 28 country, 30 out of 30 countries, 28 from the Europe, and I think Germany is also there, and 2 from North America, USA and Canada. So just the politics of NATO, Russia, and how just UNSC abstaining, just a whole situation. Just we hope for the best. Talks are continue also. I think for the peace and balance. Please.
Yeah. So now I understand your previous question: why India and China voted, remain neutral. It is for obvious reasons, was largely said, and apart from that, I think one more facts or argument is that India, in fact, never, voted for any war in whole history in the United Nations. India was always abstaining. So this is on the track, and I think it is a wonderfully and very nicely made decision. I really think it's the best balance. So, and China has its own interest, of course.
I'm trying to input the latest news now and running about that. Just Putin has just pleaded Crimea should be the part of, just they should understand Ukraine, a part of Russia. One first round talks already done, and they are ready for the next round of talks at the Belarus-Poland border. Thank you. Thank you, Ram.
Okay, thank you so much. Yeah, so now the same topic. Yes, all these nations who are, it is frightening, in fact, sitting here, and when people are talking and my students are calling, and what is happening that, all of a sudden everything has become emotional. And second thing, every means of violence is being appropriated. This is really unbelievable. This should not happen, because if you justify eye for an eye, an eye for an eye, you understand what will happen. The world will become blind itself. So the European Union that has imposed all these restrictions or sanctions, whether they are effective or not, but it is certainly going to kind of enrage Russian people, and Russian, of course, even more, I think, because this is not the correct solution, in my opinion, or at least the people, those who are discussing these issues academically, Of course, politically, it has become a kind of emotional issue, and now all are going together, and even Switzerland, that always used to be neutral, has joined the voice of the European Union. So it's going to be tough for Russia, but also for European Union and for other countries. Of course, as Laharji said, and Vandana ji also said, on the other side of the continent, Atlantic, not much will happen. Of course, they are safe there. Everything will happen in Europe. Battleground is Europe, and the suffering will be caused in Europe as well. Because now imagine the prices will go up very quickly. Already 10% prices from 2 days back to today has gone 10% higher. And now imagine what happens in next days. If the winter comes back, people won't have enough gas, enough oil. Uh, there are more problems coming, and I think it is the people who are suffering. And whether whether the Russian suffers or the European people suffer, suffering is suffering. So ultimately, we will have to pay. Everyone, all of us
Yeah.
will have to pay. Yeah.
Yeah. So how just you try to analyze that the diplomatic questions can't be answered directly and straightforward as we understand. So this is diplomatic question, and I think we should be going the direct answer. This is not possible for any person, for any learned people like you. So this is the my last question with Alok ji. Alok ji, just you already said that this is not a war between the Russia and Ukraine. This is a war between the Russia and US. So do you think in the present circumstances, the setup of NATO, the model, will be the Venice or the new formula will go, or as it is a status quo will be maintained, and they will just all the powers just European Union sanction, and also requested to European Union today Zelensky, please include me member of the European Union, and already I think maybe for the NATO. So if they go on that adamancy, then I think the situation will be the worst.
No, Kumar Rakesh, like, this is very clear. Tell me one thing. In case this was a war between Russia and Ukraine, why is the West putting any sanctions on Russia? There is no logic onto it. Why are they putting sanctions onto Russia? Let's say there is a war between, two European nations.
This is matter of
but what has happened is
power.
they've all joined together.
This is the mighty and the weak like that.
We had a war. China and India had slight skirmishes on the border. Did the European Union or NATO or UNO or General Assembly, did they mention anything? Kashmir is in UN. Has any solution been given till date? So the question is, like, if this war is between Russia and Ukraine, what are the European unions or the NATO unions or United States of America doing anything? Tell me one thing. When there was this war between Iraq and United States of America, when it was Afghanistan and United States of America, did they put any sanctions on anyone? Did they talk about human rights or anything? Or it just happens when certain people? So it is like they will not dismantle NATO. It is impossible. This is like when we were in college and there was this guy. He used to bully around the rest of the people, and there was a group of boys along with him who used to always walk around with him. So these Americans, what they've done is they've taken these powerful European and rich European, nations who always say, yes, minister. I mean, I've yet to see ever the European Union countries going against the will of United States of America. It has never happened. Same thing happens with the.
So Alok, what will happen now after these talks? You think
nothing will happen? Nothing will happen. The only reason all this is happening, I mean, it was very normal. Glasnost is there. USSR breaks into pieces. Russia makes them democracies. There are republics today which have never had any history in the past. It was part of the Russian, the Tsar's empire. And they have a history starting from 1920 or, very, very small countries. And today they form part of NATO. And why would they dismantle? The most logical thing for the, Europeans was that now Russia is not a communist country. It was a communist country. The divide within The
That
Iron
was
Curtain
that
divide
time.
was that on one side we have the communist philosophy, on the other side we have the capitalist philosophy. But now that philosophy is gone. Russia is as much capitalist as the rest of Europe is, or United States of America and Canada is, or the rest of the world living aside, let's say China is. China is also capitalist, only they have one party system. That's only the only difference. So it's a capitalist world. Why did they not let European Union, have friendly relationships with Russia? Because the whole concept of NATO is that you have a boogeyman there. The Russians are coming, the Russians are going to attack. Had they, had the Americans said, okay, our fight was with the communism or the communist philosophy, then now USSR is over, fantastic. We are white people, the white supremacy also goes away. We are Christians, so that aspect also goes away. It becomes one nation, or at least Europeans could have the common, euro philosophy there. But Americans don't want euro. They want dollar to be the only currency for
Well,
international trade.
UK also not want euro. They
No,
they only now
UK is the
studying for
satellite country of US.
GDP.
It is
Yeah.
a direct satellite. Then you have, indirect satellites like this. For example,
Alokji,
according to
Alok,
information I have, Germany and
Alokji,
France
yeah.
did not want anything like this. They sent their invoice, they talked with them, but they said, okay, let's do something. But Putin said, enough is enough. I'm not going to budge. And finally, like, it is unfortunate, and what Vannaji was saying, that people don't know. This is a fact. If you ask all those people who are supporting Ukraine, I don't think they're supporting Ukraine or anybody. They don't even know what is happening actually. And if you
Okay.
ask one of them where is Ukraine
Alokji,
on the map, they will not know. They will not know where is Ukraine situated. You
okay.
ask them to, you talk to them about Chernobyl, they'll tell you, oh, Chernobyl. Yes, it's a series on HBO. That is what going to respond to you. Now, what is happening is that we are in 21st century, and any kind of aggression, it is people who are going to lose their, their dear and near ones. So people, when they are on the streets, we should not take them incorrectly. They are just supporting, the people. Just imagine, Russia has, let's say, invaded, in this case, Ukraine. There are people in Russia who are, against this aggression. Why? Because they are like two brother nations.
No, so they, no,
They are
so
not
they have
understanding.
ordered
They cannot
dissolution also.
understand
They
why
have
our
ordered
leader
dissolution protest
is,
also in Russia. Also
pardon me, I
protest in
didn't hear
Russia.
you.
No,
Can
there
you
are
repeat
also
this?
no. Actually, as you said, there was also protest in Russia. Just
Exactly.
yeah, just to not to fight, not war with Ukraine.
Why? Because
Only
they're
the
two
protests were there.
brotherly countries. They are two brotherly countries. They've had fantastic relations. They have family relations. It is the same country.
So my last question to all of you for the 20 seconds, just request to Vandanaji, Ramji and Alokji, just I think I have to cross the time limit. I just try to decide. So do you think the concept of USSR will be back as like the concept in Bharat, Akhand Bharat will be the like the old model, just like. May,
Who
may I
start?
repeat the question? May I repeat the question?
No, no, no. The question is very clear to me. I
Yeah.
can, if you want, I can answer that to you.
Just
Will
20
USSR
seconds.
come back? I don't think history repeats itself, but only historians keep repeating each other. So USSR is not coming, but that does not mean that the reintegration of the Soviet republics would not come into being into a new Russia. So similar things like China has been doing it. It is on an expansionist philosophy. It goes on, making some part of some kingdom which was there with the Russian Empire in 6th century BC. They still think it is part of Russia. So this expansionism is there. But expansionism is also, or imperialism, if you want to call it, is also there in the case of United States of America, expanding into other nations. I mean, it could be directly having colonies like we used to have in the earlier days, but there are smarter ways of having
Yes, sir, sir,
such a group.
I need only brief answer, sir. Please, sir.
Okay, very briefly, like there's nobody telling you that India cannot, in case India is so strong and economically and militarily,
Sir,
that you can
we are talking the Akhand Bharat.
once
Just
again
100 years
reach.
back, we are the part of the
We can
more than
once
30
again
years
reach and make a common border with Persia. Why not?
back. Vandana ji.
Hypothetically, okay. I am laughing.
Okay,
I am.
then you give the answer now. Okay, I got it. Ramji. Ramji.
Well, I think if you look at this question logically, then of course there are two aspects of it. One, either some nation becomes economically very strong, that would maybe lead other nations to join that, or else these other nations are at really in a misery and they need some kind of defense protection. Then it may be possible, but not in recent future. I don't
Yeah.
think it is going to happen.
But it
One
may
more thing I
happen in
want
the
to.
next 100 years. No problem. Just you're
Well,
talking
I
about
don't
just
know. I want to.
after
One
30.
more thing I want to say.
We will not be there after 100 years. So means like, that is another thing.
Not
I mean,
the better
So
we
one
are
thing
not
I
more.
would
That
like
is
to,
not a
through your
meaning.
channel,
Sorry.
through you, I would like to say one more thing. That one fact is there which is not being shown in India, that the Indians are being mistreated in Ukraine by the Ukrainian police and maybe also army. I don't know. I have received some calls, direct calls, and even some,
No, for that,
some videos.
I'm not countering you, but that is the issue of that. The government of India has just taken all
No,
the
no.
measures step and required
Yes,
steps
yes, yes.
to
No, no,
seal it.
no. Don't misunderstand me. Of course, government of India has done everything perfectly correct and right. They had given this. Of course, this announcement was done about 2 or 3 weeks back already. It is the people those who did not obey this. These
But
instructions.
my
But
question was different, Ramji. But you are going to a different
I,
track.
I
Vandana
already
ji is
I
the same.
already answered your question, sir. I already answered that there are only two things.
So nice of you.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
We'll just see how the situation will go. Hope for the peace. Hope for the best. Hope for the non-violence. Jai Hind,
Yeah.
Jai Bharat.